Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, thanks everybody for joining. This is a webinar to cover the latest status on the TSANet Connect 2.0 initiative. I'll take you through the status and next steps, and we'll have some time in the end to ask some questions as well. So let's start out just looking at the overall 2023 plans and take a look at where this initiative fits in. I put it up at the top here because I would say it's probably the most important initiative that we have this year. We've got a couple of things happening in the TSANet Connect area, obviously maintaining the current platform, our ISO certifications, quarter releases. So all that continues, and I'll provide an update on that. But more importantly, taking a look at the Connect 2.0 and initiating some projects to move forward on the development of that enhanced functionality. And I'll kind of cover what the specific features are for that. And we've been working with Cisco as kind of the lead member on that, but now starting to pull a few other folks in as well. The other area that has some input into Connect 2.0 is in the members area. We have a new piece of functionality that is now active on the TSANet Connect platform, and that's to support critical escalations. So I'll provide an update on that, kind of show you how that works. And then we've also been having a couple workshops with hyperscalers, and what we're finding is that's a good initiative to get good clarification on the details related to the requirements for TSANet Connect 2.0, because there's a lot of things that are coming that are maybe unique and specific to collaboration with hyperscalers. So that's really where the focus will be here on this webinar, is in these areas. So taking a look first at the quarterly releases and ISO certification, we just completed the March 2023 release. Probably the most important feature in that is that now we do support a JSON process form type. That's a result of the work with Cisco on Connect 2.0. But in addition to that, there was 10 other enhancements, including modifications to the critical escalation process. So, I guess kind of in summary, the system continues to be enhanced and improved and rolled out through these quarterly releases. We also have a big initiative to maintain our certification. That work is something that really continues all through the year to maintain that certification. We've got a couple important milestones coming up here shortly. Now we've got internal audit set for June, and then our external audit set for July. And that is to ensure we continue to maintain these important certifications. So moving into the critical escalation process, from a very, very high level, critical escalation process is really intended to connect a critical escalation team with another critical escalation team, right? So it is a specific process that's enabled through the TSANet Connect system. It is a limited access process, so this isn't something that everyone in your organization gets access to. It is designed to allow one member's critical escalation team to collaborate with another member's critical escalation team. So the requirements is that it follows your critical escalation process, and what we're finding is really the key is that there's a clearly defined business impact for the customer, and then there's also existing cases open with each of the vendors. So it's not in a way to fast track a collaboration or initiate a high priority case. These are really the critical escalations that follow the critical escalation process within our existing members. So how a support engineer discovers this is if they have access to this special group, they will see in the search a result for critical escalation based on the member they're searching for. Once they select that, you'll see the, we'll call it simplified form here off to the right. They fill that out. Again, the most important piece here being the business impact, the request for collaboration to the other team, and then the inclusion of the existing case number. And once that's done, then the handshake takes place and the teams are connected. So it works exactly the same as the current TSANet collaboration, just between a couple of very defined teams with a specific process linking the critical escalation process between the organizations. So that's a summary of what it is. As far as the status goes, we have 2 members that we have completed implementation. We're kind of in the final phase of rolling out, and that is with Cisco and Dell. So they really kind of help fine tune the process a bit. A few things that we've learned just in conversation with them and also conversation with the next members that we're going to bring in. Rob, probably the biggest thing is buy-in and education of the critical escalation teams. Most of them today, in fact, I would say all, it is an internal process where only internal workflows trigger and bring work to these teams. So obviously, big questions they ask is who's able to escalate here, and making sure that they're not going to get false alerts, so to speak, coming in through this channel. So getting that buy-in is important, and we found that a lot of times getting that critical escalation team on talking to another critical escalation team, so they understand, yes, it is these small teams working together tends to remove any concern. We're starting to gather some best practices on each side. And then I would say the other thing that's important is understanding this is an extremely low volume, but very, very important process. So it's the type of thing where, hey, if you have this happen, once a quarter, it's probably uncommon, but when it does happen, it's super important. And it is a feature that's going to be available for all premium and elite members, but it is optional. So if a member doesn't have a critical escalation process, or they don't have a need for a critical escalation process, they can choose not to join this group. So that is the critical escalation process. The second area, which is driving a lot of input into Connect 2.0 and a few other things as well, is the initiative to improve collaboration with hyperscalers. And we had a workshop back in February 7th. It was an online workshop. We had 26 participants, kind of the who's who from hyperscalers as well as vendors, and a lot of great input. You can see here kind of the numbers, a lot of ideas, a lot of comments, a lot of voting, but it really distilled down to these 3 priority areas. And we will continue discussion on these 3 areas on May the 2nd. We have a second workshop planned in RTP. There's also online access there also. So if you have a desire to participate in that, please send me an email, paul@tsanet.org. And I will include you in that invitation, either, again, on-site or remote. But we'll be discussing these 3 priority areas in more detail. The first is the unique legal requirements for hyperscalers. And certainly what we're finding is, things like certification, data privacy, all those types of things, since the hyperscalers have access to customer data, is a strong requirement and something that we need to have well understood. The integrated tools, the nice thing that we learned in the previous workshop is everything that we've been discussing with TSANet Connect 2.0 and the capabilities and what we're working on there is 100% aligned with what the hyperscalers are looking for. So that was some good news. So I think we're already on the right path with that. And then the third thing that we learned, and certainly the February 7th workshop helped with this, but we see this as really a place where TSANet can help, as this culture of collaboration, right? So making sure that vendors, hyperscalers come together, understand that it's not a customer supplier relationship. It is really one where collaboration needs to take place between these companies, both on the transaction level as well as setting up these processes, improving the processes. It's just a very important area for both of them. So this culture of collaboration was another area that we can drill into next. So hopefully this gives you just kind of an idea on a very high level. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this on a future webinar. We'll go into a lot more details on this hyperscaler initiative, but again, if you're interested in participating further, just send me an email. We've got another workshop planned for May the 2nd. Okay, so then transitioning into TSANet Connect 2.0. Hopefully, a lot of people are familiar with the current scope of TSANet Connect. We'll coin it version 1. It is designed to connect a sender to a receiver with kind of this simple handshake. And then once the engineers know each other and know each other's case numbers, they're back in their CRM systems working the case, exchanging email, phone calls, jumping on Teams or WebEx, what have you, to resolve the issue. So all of that's happening outside of the system. So that's the current scope for version 1. Obviously, it was very successful getting off the ground. We've got 800 members connected. So it's the type of thing that everyone can use, everybody can connect in. It's very, very flexible to adapt to your inbound process, and something that's not complicated for engineers to interact with. So that's version 1. It does result, though, in engineer experience that's people call it a swivel chair, and obviously there's some things you can do to optimize this, but it essentially results in your engineers working in their CRM system. They want to collaborate, they hop out, jump into the TSANet Connect web interface, fill some stuff out, they get some emails. Yes, that could be linked into the CRM system, but in some cases it does require a manual interaction for the engineer to kind of keep these things in sync. So that's the current engineer experience. What we're finding, and this was a result of the technology committee that we put in place late last year and kind of iterated on through this year, there was quite a few requirements for the TSANet Connect 2.0 platform, but 2 of the requirements that we are working on now is the enhanced API integration and the end-to-end messaging updates. So that definitely requires some enhanced technology investments and things like that. And this is really the key points that are having us taking a look at the API integration and adding that into the system. So obviously. True API integration enhances the scope of the system to not only bidirectionally allow the creation of cases in each member system, but to keep those linked up and updated through system-to-system messaging. So that would really kind of move this into more of a pure B2B solution. And we are finding that some members are already doing this type of integration. They tend to be for strategic relationships, OEMs, those types of things. But nonetheless, these vendors are doing them today. And we've got a lot of conversation and learning from them on the effort that it takes and what the benefits of having more of a standardized approach to this would be. Point number 3 is probably the big ROI topic. And I would say it's probably even a low cost estimate, right? As far as to get a B2B solution up and going, $50K per connection endpoint is probably the starting point, right? If you're starting down the path and you don't have existing proven methods in place, that certainly could go up from there. But when you're doing point-to-points, you are doing end-to-end field mapping. It's an IT project. It's got ongoing support implications. So it is something that vendors do not like doing, and they really only reserve these types of things for the most strategic relationships. Number 4, what we learned, certainly from the hyperscalers, is they want integrated solutions, right? So this hopping out of their ticketing system to do something else and hopping back in is something they really don't want, and something they're doing the right investments in their own tooling to prevent that. So we feel that we need to meet the needs of that. And then certainly we've seen with some members today that just simply putting a button inside of their case that says TSANet Connect or Collaborate with Partner increases the usage and also enables other use cases like solution port, OEM support, those types of things. So it certainly will enhance the usefulness of TSANet as well. So those are really the kind of key reasons that we're moving down this path. So looking at the future support engineer experience, this is, I'll call it a super high level mock-up, somewhat based on Salesforce, but every system is very similar, right? You've got a case or a ticket or something to track the customer issue, where you've got some different sections of that. And what we see a lot of members doing now is they have a section for collaboration, and that is where their engineers could trigger internal collaboration requests. Say they're using the swarming model, or they have ability to create escalation cases against the main case, or maybe even escalate into their defect tracking system. But all that kind of internal requests are in this area. And then we see external requests here, and that could be external requests, or it could be just simply labeled partner requests. But that's really where we see the TSANet Connect integration happening. So we do feel the engineer should discover all the ways they can collaborate, both internal and external, within the same area, just to kind of maintain that consistency in process and workflow. And then obviously there's some other areas of the system that get updated. Namely the contacts that are coming in from the collaboration requests, and the activity feeds that are updating messages, et cetera, would be updating the case as well. So this is really the engineer experience that we're planning for in the future, and is something that's only capable with API integration in these key systems. So the one key requirement for TSANet Connect 2.0 is that we do not isolate members. So obviously this is a type of thing where member A could choose to do API integration, but member B, maybe they are not capable of doing that. Maybe they don't want to do that. They can't justify it, and they just simply want to continue to use the web interface. So we want to make sure in the long term is that API connected members obviously can talk to other API Connect members, but they can also still collaborate with members that are still using the web interface and email process. So these all need to be seamlessly connected. Certainly there may be some functionality differences based on who you're collaborating with, but it should work, and you shouldn't be isolated or have to swivel chair to another solution to collaborate with a different member type. So this is the idea and the requirement to ensure that no matter how you connect to the platform, you can still collaborate with other members. This may be a little in the weeds and technical, but I just want to at least give you a high level view on the API that we've been working on, and this will hopefully make a little more sense once I share the status and what's available now, and what would be available as we continue forward. So there's really two primarily use cases, and that is receiving an inbound request from another member. And this, as you can see here, really has us integrating the TSANet Connect platform into the member system and the members API. So we send a JSON message into the member system, and that automatically creates a case. They automatically update the TSANet Connect system back, which is basically then sending JSON messages back and forth on that API interface. So I would say the inbound tends to be designed towards the members' capabilities and the members' requirements for receiving a case. So that's use case number one. Use case number two, a little bit more complicated. Again, there'll be some flexibility in how this is implemented, but if you think through the requirements for an outbound collaboration, there is some more requirements on the API side. So you need to get the list of members that you have the capability of collaborating with, viewing the processes that are available for outbound, and then filling out any additional fields. Obviously, with API integration, you could do things like automatically populate data that's already in your CRM system, but there may be a need for the engineer to add some additional data, like say a serial number for a hardware vendor, and they enter that information and press submit. That creates a case over in the receiver's system. And then same thing with the bidirectional updating. So there's obviously initial response, but then ongoing message updates would be supported also in the outbound use case. So those are the two key use cases that we're working on. These are the vendors that are involved in the current state project, where we are developing, iterating, really kind of understanding how this scales. And what we see here on the scope standpoint is that we are working with each member to move to a single integration effort, making sure that create and update is supported, and then really starting to gather best practices for the system UI. Obviously, in the short term, going to a member and saying, hey, get your Salesforce team to change the UI or install this is something that's not possible. So really gathering best practices, and at some point we'll be providing methods or code for reuse within member systems. Goals that we have here obviously is to demonstrate cost benefits, demonstrate that we can do reuse, make sure that we got good input into the next gen microservice architecture that would be supporting this. And then we are also, just like we did with the first generation of TSANet Connect, is making sure we do a very collaborative approach with our members, but then also including some outside viewpoints, both from other partners, as well as Consortium for Service Innovation. Obviously, they're doing some things on best practice side. So really making sure that we get inputs from other areas as well for this. This hopefully gives you a little bit of sense of what we are seeing with lead member systems. And again, we'll probably find as we move through the membership that there's going to be members that look like these lead members. In other words, they have a CRM system and they have a clearly defined integration layer. So again, these systems tend to be very easy to interface to, and they're very capable of doing this types of API integrations. But I suspect as we go further down the path, we could find some members that they just simply have a CRM system. They don't have an integration layer. And again, a lot of these CRM systems also have direct connect API capabilities. Maybe they're not quite as flexible as a purebred integration platform like the MuleSoft, et cetera, but certainly have the capabilities to do what we need to do on the integration side. So maybe the message here is, sure, if you've got an integration layer and that's the way to do it, that's how we'll do it. But if you don't have an integration layer and it requires a direct integration to your CRM system, that's fine as well. So quite a bit of flexibility in how we connect into a member if they're looking for API integration. So then taking a look here quickly at the project timeline and really kind of where we're at. In the first quarter of this year, we worked very closely with Cisco, and we got a solution in place that allows us to create inbound cases into the Cisco system using the JSON process form type. And as you saw in the March release, that's now a process form type that's available to other members. So that's something that's available, and with the other lead project members, we're starting to have those discussions on, hey, let's get this first use case up and going first. And then phase two, we've started to have discussions with Cisco and others on how phase two looks. And again, I think there is some flexibility on this based on how members are able to move forward in the short term and the long term. What we're really focusing on for phase two is very specific use cases. So we want to make sure that we understand members' workflows and connectivity between. So Cisco and Red Hat is the first use case that we're looking at. Nutanix and Microsoft, and then we have an opening for another pair. But what we're looking to do here is, again, this isn't generic functionality. This would be really taking a look at making sure that we design for these specific point-to-points, but in a way that allows it to scale. So obviously, once we have 3 pairs on, nothing prevents Red Hat and Nutanix from working, or another vendor in the mix, right? So once you're connected, multi-point capabilities are in place. So like I said, you can kind of see here, this is a little bit longer timeline, Q2, Q3. I would say in some cases, this isn't a reflection on the complexity of the technology. I would say what we found is the technology is available. It's been in place for many, many years. It's well understood. It's rock solid. It is really orchestrating the different teams to make this happen. So as you can kind of imagine, getting stakeholders on board, doing things, those are the types of things that take vendors a lot of time and energy to do if they do a point-to-point. So we see the challenges there. It's not the technology. It is the project management and getting the solution in place, and obviously ongoing management. So we see a good fit for TSANet and kind of standardizing this area. Okay, so that is it. I'm going to see if I can open it up for questions.